So the last interaction was read-only. So now let's interact with our contract by sending actual transactions. So the first feature we've developed in our contract was increment. So let's start with it. And let's add a button to the main screen that sends this increment transaction. So as you can see, sending a transaction on chain costs gas. So we would expect the wallet to approve this action with the user. So it will also show how much TON will be sent. So this is exactly why we need this TON Connect thing, that we want users' wallet to actually approve certain transactions. And we want the application to be able to request those transactions. So before starting, we are going to add another hook that will generate a sender object from the TON Connect interface. So this sender represents the connected wallet, and it will allow us to send transactions on their behalf. So while we're working on this transaction request, we'll also show in UI the wallet connection state. So our UI could be modified based on the state of the current user connection. And just like we did in previous lessons, let's keep this functionality that we are going to use later in the app inside of the React hook. So let's create the file called use TON Connect in the folder hooks. So we can create a new file, use TON Connect TS. This file is going to have following contents. Let's have a look. So the hook use TON Connect, it is bringing the TON Connect UI, and it is returning us two things. Sender. So sender is having type sender, obviously, and the sender has some arguments, and the TON Connect UI can actually do this method send transaction, where you can make an array of messages. So you put the address, amount, payload, but those arguments you actually are getting from the sender arguments that are passed into it. So, and you can also specify until what time this request is valid. So this is something standard that if you just put it once on your app, you can use it throughout the application. And this hook also returns the connection state, so that TON Connect UI is actually connected. It has the active state that is already connected. Depending on this variable, we will show or hide some functionality actually. So we save it. And the next thing we're going to do is we are also improve our use main contract. So there's a few things that we are going to upgrade. So first, we're going to create an automatic polling. So we will check the values here every, let's say, 5 seconds. And then second, we will actually import the use TON Connect here and expose a new function here. So we will return a new function. So we could actually run a certain function on top of this use main contract hook and actually request those transactions. So we will need to do a few updates. So we need to import a few things. So obviously we will need to import the use TON Connect. And we will import to Nano because we will actually need to put some transformations on numbers. Another thing is we have to import the sender from we have to define it from the hook use TON Connect. So once we get it here, we will also need a sleep function, the one that will actually give us this period of 5 seconds to actually request the data again. And how do we do this long polling? So here in this function where we get value, we are going to, right after we set the contract data, we set balance, we are going to run another 5 seconds, wait another 5 seconds, and run this function again, get value. So as you can see, this is going to be a continuous process which will repeat again and again and again. So once we do some transaction, let's say, that is written on chain, we will get the latest value available in the interface. And then we will expose, just like I noted before, we will expose a new function here, send increment. So this is going to be a asynchronous function, and it is going to return the main contract. If it exists, it's going to return main contracts send increment. This is something we have from our wrapper, send increment, and now we will actually need to pass a few things. So sender, we imported from the use tone connect, so we can actually pass sender, and then we will actually pass to nano, so we transform it. We will put some money. This is just for the transaction fee. And next, we will ask for the amount to increment it by. So let's say we want to increment it by 5. So as you can see, this hook is sort of another wrapper on top of our wrapper, but this is, let's say, React-specific wrapper, because we want to be able to run this function send increment, and in the same time, this hook consolidates the functionality of long polling, so it's quite a useful React style of wrapping functionality. All right, so now we are kind of ready, and we only need to update our user interface. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the app TSX, and one more thing we will need to import here would be the connection state, connected from the use tone connect. Yeah, I made a typo. Why do we need that? Because based on this functionality, we are going to show certain data. So we are going to do it like this. So if it is connected, then we are going to actually show the button that would request a transaction. Let's do it in form of link. We would need a graph. We would need to define the onClick function. And we would do send increment. But before, we would need to import it. And where do we get it from? Of course, use main contract, send increment. So we will need to do send increment. And of course, we would need to put the increment by 5. As far as I remember, we made it, yes, we want to increment it by 5. Great. So at this point, let's run our app again. I'm in the folder of the contract, so I need to get back in my command line to the front-end folder, and I would go with yarn dev again. At this point, we are ready to run our web application. We'll start the local server, yarn dev, and it gives us the URL to access in browser. Let's do it now. So here I am in the browser, and I can refresh it, and I can see that a lot of read-only data is already available. But in order to see the button, I would need to connect my wallet, namely ToneKeeper, to actually see the button with requesting transaction, because requesting transaction, this is not a read-only feature. It is an important feature that is actually only possible on authorized applications. So now once I'm authorized, I see this button increment by a certain amount. So what is important is that this is a transaction that is going to be requested from the user who authorized this application. So it's not like you or always one particular user will be requested. So at this moment, I'm ready to proceed with incrementing the counter value, let's say by 5. So I'm requesting this transaction, and on my phone, I'm requested to actually sign a transaction on 005 ton, and this transaction is going to be sent to our contract. So we see the transaction is sent, and we would expect the counter value to increase by 5. Sometimes it might take a few seconds. Great, so we see that counter value just increased by 5, and we also got a bit of a balance here. But this is a nano value, so let's convert it into a ton amount so it wouldn't be that confusing. So just like we did the to nano, we can also use the from nano function. So we can import it from the ton core. This one, yeah, it immediately imported from ton core. And let's see. Yes, exactly. You see that now this is in tons. So 004 tons. Great. So let's continue with this transaction functionality. So as you remember, we have one to deposit and one to withdraw. Let's see what we need to do for that. We would need to head into the use main contract, because that's exactly the place where we define the send increment. So for this, we would need to define another function called send deposit. So this is going to be async function, and it is going to return main contract, which is our wrapper, and then send deposit function. Let's see what we have there. We have send deposit function, and it accepts sender. As you remember, we got it from the use tone connect hook, and we would have to define how much money we want. So let's say we want to withdraw. Well, actually, we want to deposit. Sorry, we are depositing. So we want how much money we want to request from the wallet who authorized to this app for actual deposit amount. So let's say we will ask for 1 ton to be deposited, and that's it. Now we're heading back to the application. All right, so we have to specify here that this balance is going to be, we only should show this if the contract balance is available. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to create another link. We don't worry, we don't bother here about the layout besties, like best practices. So we just do functional things so you understand how the front end interacts with the contract. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to check again if the app is connected. And then I'm going to basically copy this. So I would do, on click, I would do send deposit. Let me check here. Yes, I would need to import this one from the use main contract, send deposit. And here, I would say send deposit, and I would say request deposit of 1 ton. And let's quickly switch to the interface so we can see how exactly it works now. As you can see on our interface, we got a new link, a button, request deposit of 1 ton. Once we click it, it is asking it's requesting a transaction from my TonKeeper wallet. I can see this transaction on my screen. I click confirm, and that's it. It requested me to send 1 ton. So that's exactly what I did. And we will see now that our balance is going to increase by 1 ton once the data is updated. As you can see, it happens real time because we made this long polling. So now we have a whole ton or our balance. And let's create the last thing for this lesson. We are going to create a send withdrawal request command. As we did last time, let's expose one more function here. Send withdrawal request. We'll also make it async function. who is going to call our wrapper, the main wrapper, and we do send withdrawal request. And again, we're going to provide sender from Tone Connect. We are going to provide some money that will be dedicated to pay the commission fees. And then we are going to say how much we want to withdraw. I will withdraw 0.7 ton, and I will have to use the 2 nano, so it would actually transfer them into the nano, because the amount and coins amounts are actually measured in nanos, in ton. So great, we got this function. Let's move to interface and create one more link button. So we are going to also import the send withdrawal request, and we're going to trigger it here, send withdrawal request, and we're going to say that this is going to be request 0.7 ton withdrawal. Awesome. So let's move back into the interface and see how it works. We got one more link now, request 0.7 ton withdrawal. So my wallet is going to now tell me that someone is asking me to send 0.05 tons. And it's actually checking that it's going to make a sequence of transactions. The screenshot to this you probably see on your screen right now. So the ToneKeeper app is able to see what sequence of transaction actually is triggered here. So we can see that this is address that like the second transaction of 0.7 ton will be done to our wallet. So we actually want to confirm this, and we will see what exactly happens. So I just received 0.7 tons, and to have a proof of that, let's check the Explorer. So to check the Explorer for this transaction, I'm going to the testnet, and I'm searching for this address, which is our contract's address. So as you can see, we sent this message. This was just for fee 005, but we also provided operation code. And here it was the out transaction from our contract, because we requested 0.7 withdrawal. And because we actually, like, my address is an owner address of this contract as per our storage and our logic has checked that, yes, this is the address that could request withdrawal. So if someone else or you or someone else would actually authorize to the very same app and request a withdrawal, it wouldn't give you money. So this is 3 types of transactions that we programmed in our contract in the previous chapter, and now we actually programmed the interface for it. So these are basic building blocks that you would need to understand them in order to build more complex applications. But for now, we want to cover all those basics. So thank you for following with me. In the next lesson, we're going to actually deploy our application to web, so to go production with that.